So talk about here linked list per se. I'm gonna state something that is really annoying per se, and um, so for the most parts is that um, p is equals to x, and I have like a imaginative to prove is that because um, so like first conditions is saying that 2 multiplied by slope is equals to fast, right? So I imagined that the fast is gonna like move um, 2 spots. It's gonna go like this, and then slow is gonna move like this, right? So the thing is this, that you say this is the point for the coincidence of both f plus s. I feel like the um, remainder of the gap, because at the very get-go, before the cycle actually begins, is that f will start to actually enter into the realm uh, much faster, um, that it's gonna be f gap of a distance. So I just feel that maybe say the gap is f per se, maybe say s is over here, and the interaction between this start of the cycle, which is really important in my opinions, at least because this is the starting point per se. But the gap, to me, that is like the most concerning an item per se, whereby it's going by f per se. But I just feel that if say s is here, the gap in between maybe f per se. So at the end of the day, when you want to actually close in the gap, it's gonna be f as well, because first and foremost, when before the start of the cycle per se, is that you are having the interaction with f. So if your to me, this is the start of the cycle, this is the interaction with between the cycle, like between start cycle, it's f. So all the more when you do the end cycle, which is the inside the interaction circle, the end circle will also be f. Because this is what I actually believe, is that if your what comes in is gonna go out exactly. So if say your start cycle, the difference in the start cycle, if the start cycle is f, your end cycle should also end with f. So therefore here, if it's f and here is also f, therefore the relationship between these f's is that when you actually come back, you want to prove like back to the main agenda, which is p equals to x, where basically these two items sort of like move per se. I think that will actually mimics the movement of like f per se. So you have a s that actually move here, and then the s to actually move here at the same time. If you have these two items, you are sort of like mimicking f, because this two is moving in sort of like opposite direction per se. So if you have like two of these s, I feel like it's equivalent to just one movement per f per se, and so you are actually mimicking the f. So with this, when this happens, you are mimicking the f, so therefore it will actually cancel out to become a zero movements of a zero movements per se, because in f, in my opinion, it's like between the start cycle, right? We talk about the start cycle, it's f, and the end cycle is f as well. And right now we know that at the end of the day, what we are left with is the difference of like f. And if we want to actually close in back the gap, we just move the opposite direction of s, which actually mimics the movement of f per se, and we will get the end result of p is equals to x. Whereby if these two things move at the same time, you reach until the start of the cycle per se, because that was like the diff at the very start. At the very start, we talk about like the diff between the s and the f is this f gap, and between the end cycle to the start will therefore be also f per se, f gap. So in my opinion, at the end of the day, the idea is this f gap. In the start cycle, you have a f gap. In the end cycle, you have a f gap. Fine. So in order to actually remove this f gap per se, it's from the very start, move the s, move. What we are trying to do is remake this f gap for whatever this f has been producing. So I can imagine in this whole cycle per se is that they produce a f factor in. There's a f factor in it, and here at the start they are also creating the f factor. Why I say f factor? It's basically f factor is basically the difference between the f and the s, because when s and f moves together, there's like a gap, right? And to me, this is f factor. F is producing a factor in it, so f factor is producing over here, enters into the cycle, it produces another f factor per se. And we sort of like narrow it down, f factor to become f gap. So I think there's like two main points that's actually occurring right now, which is at the start. Two key timing is the start of the cycle and the end of the cycle. At the start of cycle, you're gonna produce this F gap. So I would say that start cycle will be this line per se, but an end cycle will be this line per se, and there's like a F gap that's going on here and here. F over here, F over here. No, I think I really like the previous ones where we talk about S cycle, there's a F, and at the end cycle, there's another F. Basically, there's two items. There's two F being produced because there's like two timings. If the one timing it has its own F, start cycle has its own F. I just imagine like maybe here is like the starting point, so you have all these items per se. So your F obviously is gonna like finish within half the time of S, and maybe say this is another cycle per se. You're still traveling 2 times fast, and by the time it finishes, so there's like the difference over here, it's like S, and S will start traveling half the distance over here as well, so there's a gap of another S. So in other words, that at the end of the day, if you have like S to constantly move, oh my god, this is so genius. Okay, you have like the S to actually move and the S to actually move like this. Eventually, maybe say for this is this group is under before cycle. The phase of before cycle here is at the start of the cycle per se, and therefore if here the gap, it's the gap is P, here, if it's x, p will eventually become x, because why p will be equals to x? Because for this, at the end of the day, no matter what, it's gonna go a loop, and at the end of the day, they're gonna meet at the same similar common point, which is over here. Here is what we call the common point. And for cycle is this. They can loop round and round and round and round, but at the end they will meet at this common point. And similar for this case, it's traveling it in a straight line. Maybe this one is just like move one time, and it will meet until like the common point per se. So at the end of the day, the slope where it want to eventually end is at the C, and same for here, where the slope point want to actually ends, it's actually at the final destination is also actually the C. So you go loop 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 loop, but at the end of the day, it's trying to come to here. There's a C. So therefore, whatever this S is trying to go is to the C. Whatever the S is trying to go is towards the C. Therefore, okay, I think let's rephrase it. The question would be, how does F catches up with S? Let's put that as an agenda. So F comes here. Fine. I think there's a bit of lack of space, but I'm just gonna tell you my take so far is that um, over here, obviously the difference, let's say for between F and S, obvious, there's gonna be difference. We term it as F1. So obvious when uh, and let's say this is like the start of cycle. C is like the start of cycle. C is a very important point in my opinion because it's gonna tell you when I gonna enter to the phase 2 per se. So maybe here before I hit the C, that's phase 1. After I hit the C, that's phase 2. So at phase 1, the key difference before this is very much before S reaches the start of the cycle, which is the C. So we're talking about the F1 difference, and while S is still traveling towards the C per se, F already have like a good start already of trying to find a difference already, which I'll say it's like F2 2.1 per se. So F2 I'll split into two categories per se, is that here is like there's like difference being created when before the item reaches the cycle, and then after it reaches the cycle, which is F 2.2. And this is gonna make us catch up the S at this cycle. So this is belong to the first phase. This one is second phase, because at the end of the day, we're trying to say that okay, how fast is this thing is gonna like catch up with the S. So it had a head start of this distance and then the remaining distance, and then eventually it does catch up per se. So we're actually we're fine tuning like the mechanism that it takes to actually catch up to the slow cycle. So it takes the first phase and the second phase for it to actually reach us. So I think at the end of the day, this is what we actually concluded per se. I think this sums up very well, which is at the very first phase is that we created a gap of F1 and F2.1 at this phase before the S reaches here. So after S reaches here, we're gonna continue increasing our gap per se. It's gonna be the F2.2 per se, where we are creating the gap distance in the creating by the cycle per se. So at the end of the day, when does like S have like some sort of like a interaction with S and F, it's by how fast this F1 F2.1 is split into two categories, I'll say, and F2.2. These three add up that actually contribute S to actually interact with F in the near future. So I think this is all I'm getting so far. Running out of gap for us to actually fine tune further, obvious. But I mean, if any sorts, when I'm doing this, it doesn't draw any more inspiration per se. I feel like I need to brute force it much more further, much more in depth, to actually truly understand what is actually going on. This question is very much more on this video. This hero per se, it's so much more about like proving concept per se, as opposed to our traditional LeetCode problem per se, with like the given answers and everything. But this one, it, it has like the fundamental curiosity that actually drives us for the most parts of like this whole interaction of like the proving per se. And I'm really proud. I'm just happy to do this for the most parts. I just like to express about that. Although this is a side thing, this is a side expression or whatnot. I'm not saying that this concept of like proving or the hero of like proving concept is a side thing. It's a main thing. It's a main thing. What I'm saying that the side thing is that at that moment previous, I was like actually just expressing that how, you know, that I'm just happy to actually come to this main broad concept of trying to prove an idea. I think it's necessary for us to actually start appreciating the fast and slow pointers that's been created, why this sort of like formula works, and try to actually prove it in the most logical and intuitive way possible. And I came up with this and what have you, and I believe that there must be a way to actually sort of like solve it per se. But yeah, man. Yeah. Like I said, it requires a lot more this play out series for us to actually further find it out. But I really like this graph. I really do. In my opinion, I really like this one. That's my opinion at least. And obviously this C is like a very good breaking point. It just distinguish ourselves very well on establishing on what sort of like impact F has on the first phase and on the second phase. When you split that into two categories, suddenly everything just seems so fine to me. That is. So yep. Obviously I'm gonna be right here and sign it off. Everything comes to an end.